Chris, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for the time. How you doing today?
Everything's great. Nice to see you.
It is great to see you as well. And you are joining me in part because I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Horns Up event happening this weekend. It is a 2-day event. Starts with a golf tournament on Friday hosted by Sark. And on Saturday, it is a really cool dinner and concert that involves Parker McCollum, Leon Bridges, and Leonard Skinner. You got a little something for everybody in that show on Saturday, Chris, and ultimately it is benefiting the Texas One Fund, which helps to support the finances of this great athletics department.
Well, all credit goes to Charles Attal. This was his idea when you started to think about what we could do different. I think name, image, and likeness and what the Texas One Fund does for us is unbelievable. Allows us to fulfill our dreams. But when you're looking at how do we create a great event around that? And Charles came up with this awesome idea. It's our second year. I thought last year was fantastic. But to have Parker McCullum, the guys love country. Then you got Leon Bridges. And then for me, my era, Leonard Skinner. It's going to be outstanding.
Do you have a favorite Skinner song?
Let me tell you. Their about 4 or 5 year catalog. We always just having this discussion was unbelievable. Obviously, tragedy struck with that plane crash, but they had a 5-year window. You're like, man, CCR had a 3-year window that I'm pretty impassioned about, and then Led Zeppelin had a 10-year window where from beginning to end where you look at. But Leonard Skinner's 5 years are really good. Every song you just go, that's a Skinner song. I mean, they're a Florida band came up with Sweet Home Alabama. You start to think about, they have such great songs. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that smells another good one. I just saw that Led Zeppelin's about to come out with their first new album in decades. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you know what? I had not heard that, but when they came back for a reunion tour and they're in the Hall of Fame, I was like, they should. But, when obviously when they lost Bono, that's been a little bit different. I think the one group that kind of managed it great was when AC/DC lost their lead singer. That guy was plug and play. Did a really good job as well.
Yeah, good call there. So one other thing about the event this weekend is even if you can't attend, there's still an opportunity for a raffle that's going on right now with a bunch of really cool different things. It includes pregame field access for a bunch of different football games this year, postgame field access, there's some signed guitars, there's other experiences involving music and more. So my kids' school, Chris, because they're both in elementary school right now, they do a raffle every year. One of the raffle items, and it's usually the hottest selling item, is the kid gets to be the principal for the day. I'm a little bit surprised not to see something on the raffle having to do with getting to be UT athletics department head for the day, getting to maybe shadow you in what your day typically consists of.
I'm afraid to do that because they'll take my job. You know what I mean? They may realize that it's just a house of cards. A third grader could do it.
No, see, you know how I know that's not true? Because I see all the things that you're really good at, and you've got a level of patience about you. You and I have talked about this before. You are so gracious in how you deal with every person who wants to talk with you, either come up to you on Bevo Boulevard, or they want to have a conversation with you on Twitter. You take the time to make every person feel heard, and that in and of itself is difficult, but your finest quality may be your ability to hire people. You have A-plus hires across the board in terms of the coaches that you put in charge of various sports, which is obviously another very difficult skill to master. For you as somebody who is as good as hiring as you are, Chris, what is the key there? What is your secret in making sure to continue to make quality hires each time that carousel comes around?
Well, I'll answer the first question about time. I think this job, you're asking people to spend their discretionary income with you. It's their precious dollar. And giving time to those people, wherever it is, if it's on a social media platform or if it's in person, they deserve that because they're saying that this is my personal dollar. I'm going to spend that with you. And to blow someone off, that would hurt our brand. It would hurt our chances to be great. So I'm very fortunate to have an unbelievable wife and kids that understand, hey, I'm going to go above and beyond when we're at a dinner table. I'm going to answer this, or we're walking together, wherever it may be, because they're choosing to spend their discretionary income with them, and it's precious dollars. So I treat their dollar like it's my own. I want them to feel like, hey, you're being heard, and we're investing properly. That conversely goes into hiring coaches or staff. My job is to harness the incredible brand of Texas. And if you devalue the credible brand of Texas and whatever it is, you're going to struggle. So I think when you're trying to hire somebody, regardless of the role, football coach, a basketball coach, director of marketing, we have 350 employees. I meet with every employee when we hire them. I meet with them when we're interviewing them, because you're bringing them into our culture. I make time for that because I'm telling you, when you come here, the standard of Texas is excellence. And we're going to give you all the tools to be successful. But this is what we want. We want you to live up to something bigger than ourselves, and that's the University of Texas. And that comes from our chairman of the board, constantly talks about Texas being, we're treasuring this incredible state asset. Treat it like it's gold, like it's your own, like you would treat your family. And if you do that, great things will happen. And so that permeates throughout our entire building. So when we're going to go out and try to hire coaches, we just think what is the goal of Texas? That's to win national championships. I remember we hired a coach, and his comment to me was he was the Cleveland Indians. He wanted no part of the New York Yankees. That was a reference he used, because they knows that our expectations are high. And a coach coming here, they have to adhere to that. And in every one of our offices in the weight room, we have the winning traditions of the University of Texas shall not be entrusted to the timid nor the weak. That's the level. And when you walk into the Hall of Fame, it says the eyes of Texas are upon you. And when you walk in there, what do you see? Championships, All-Americans, academic All-Americans. Those kids are inheriting that legacy. And you recruit to that legacy, and you ask them, who's next? Do you want to be immortalized as a Texas legend? And the eyes of Texas are upon you at all times. So that's the secret sauce. I just gave it to you.
Well, not to throw anybody under the bus who doesn't qualify, but if you had that conversation with potential candidates and you've seen, I don't know, a fear come over their eyes or something come over their face that lets you know instinctively that this person is probably not the right person for this particular job, considering how big the stage is here at UT?
I think you look at that, it's an aircraft carrier and a boat on Lake Austin. They both float. They both have an engine. They're completely different. But so when you're hiring for coaches, sometimes you go, boy, that would be a great coach. He's done such a great job there. But what he's done there, would it translate here? So you also have to have hire that understand the brand of Texas, understand the gravitas, and understand the totality of it. And that's where we make mistakes. We go out and hire a hot name from somewhere else that has no idea what it is internally. So we spend a lot of time. We have a wish list, a coach you can get, and then you never want to go to the old poop list. Same thing when we're hiring staff. They have to understand this is who you're coming to. We got to be all in on the University of Texas. And it is all encompassing. And we've had coaches, just not a right fit. I remember Chairman Eltife and I were talking to a coach and goes, man, we both knew, right? And when Steve came in, we were like, man, this guy had an unbelievable plan. He had been at USC, been at Alabama, been at Washington, but he had a plan, and people were criticizing the hire. And all of a sudden he's so successful. It was, boy, I knew it when we hired him. But if you go back and read, what is he doing? So sometimes it's a gut instinct, but more importantly, it's always the plan. You want to make God laugh, make a plan. But if you want to be successful, you got to have a plan. And I spend a lot of time on their plan of what success looks like at Texas. And when they can't articulate it, then we love where they're at and stay there.
That is interesting. I think that's maybe the foundational component that I didn't quite grasp. But you literally have them sit down with you and spell out what it is that they're going to do similarly, but also differently from where their current successes are. That is going to translate that on this massive stage. I love that.
And you look at that, and sometimes you just say there could be a smaller program, a different program. It just doesn't translate.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Coach Sarkisian when he came here. He hired coaches from all over the country that were great at their craft. He didn't bring all his buddies with him. Sean Miller came. He hired a plethora of coaches from everywhere. He says, "You're great at what you do." A coach's job is to accentuate your strengths and get the hell out of the way.
Some people are afraid to hire other highly competent people because they see that as a threat. What that does, if you're doing it correctly, Chris, and you obviously done that within the athletics department also. I know we talk about the sports, but you find people who are good at stuff that you're not good at, and it makes everybody better, because if everybody's moving in that same general direction, at the end of the day, as a unit, you are just hitting home run after home run with everything that it is that your group is trying to tackle.
Well, and I think that's, thank you for noticing that. I think one of the things you have to look at, if you hire an expert in some subject matter, you're the boss.
Yeah.
Go do it. You go run your area. I'm not going to micromanage your area. Drew Martin's an incredible marketer. He has an idea a minute. Run with it. If it doesn't work, I'll take the blame. When it works, I'm going to give you full credit, because you want those guys constantly innovating, right? And you allow them to be successful. Sean Eichhorst was the AD at Nebraska and at Miami. He's brilliant. You run that side. Sarah Baumgartner came here. She runs. She's the department culture, and she runs all our coaches report to her. She's phenomenal at saying this is what we look. But I don't micromanage her. We communicate. I just got out of a staff meeting for an hour about what's going. LaToya Jackson's in charge of our academics. She runs that. We don't micromanage that. They're all professionals. So the idea is that if you're in charge of that area, that's your passion, let's make sure that we give you everything that you need to be successful under the guise that this is the University of Texas.
It's that Navy SEALs mindset where everybody is their own leader. You trust them to make decisions. Of course, you want to continually talk about things, but you trust them not to have to turn to you and ask a question about every little thing that crosses their desk or crosses the field of play.
Right. And it's funny you say that. My brother-in-law is a Navy SEAL. He always talks about they prepare. But when they execute, they trust. We prepare. But when we execute, we trust. That's the same. We prepare every single day. We execute, we communicate, but we trust the fact you're going to do your job. But I think the most critical thing there is if there's a mistake within the team, I have to take the blame for that. I can't sit there and say, I did not know about it. I say that's on me. I apologize. We will move forward. We'll get better. If I start blaming people down the ladder, those people will be afraid to be innovative. They'll walk on eggshells. We say, hey guys, we can't make that mistake publicly. I'm going to take the blame for that, but I'm not going to even mention your name. We can't do that. But guys, the enterprise is Texas. Hold this like an egg in your hand, and we have to care for that. But we're going to make mistakes, but don't be afraid of making mistakes, because when you're afraid of mistakes, the egg breaks.
I am such a fan of that philosophy. I talk about it with parenting all the time, that it's important for parents to apologize to their kids when they're in the wrong, because it teaches a sort of personal accountability. So it's not surprising to hear you talking about that with what it is that you're currently responsible for. Do you have a last, maybe not big mistake, but a last mistake in mind that you made in particular that you had to apologize for people for? And if so, what was the lesson that was learned there?
Oh, I mean, there's always, I'm the first. Humility is something that you should always, I mean, my father had three sayings: you'll be humble, you'll be humble, you'll be honest, and you'll serve others. That was his three mantra to us. And so I firmly, humility to say, my bad. We're just in a meeting. God, I messed that one up. I thought it was going to go this way. Didn't go that way, but we talk about it. But no decision is ever made in a vacuum, right? I mean, going under civil unrest, going under COVID, I found mentors in different ways. I mean, something. There's an 18 to 22-year-old became my mentor during civil unrest because I'm like, well, I don't get where you're at. And we had deep conversations about what was going on, where that person opened my eyes to looking at things differently.
Hmm.
And it was not that I was closed off. I was like, I just had, my years were completely different and my experiences were different. But I apologized to that person. So yeah, I got that. I apologize. I was thinking it this way. It's okay. But you're always going to make, the one thing is you cannot die on a mistake. You must sit there and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I apologize for that. Here's what I was thinking. Or it's like Anchorman. That escalated quickly. We blew that. It's okay to have humor whew, oh, wow, I got out of hand real quick. However, how can we make sure we say we're sorry, atone for that mistake, don't make it again, and make sure that you rectify whatever it is.
It's important to hear successful people talk about this because it is a bit of a lost art in 2025, unfortunately, with the current climate and social media, politically and elsewhere. Chris, considering that we are talking about the Texas One Fund event happening this weekend, it is Horns Up. You can go to all the Texas socials to find out more, perhaps get tickets to that dinner and concert on Saturday night. I don't know how many spaces are left for Sark's golf tournament on Friday. And I set all of this up to ask you because a report came out through Kirk Bowles a few weeks ago that the Texas football team is spending $35 to $40 million on the football team for this upcoming season. That seems like a high number since the teams that were spending the most last season were closer to that $20 million range. Do you agree with that $35 to $40 million number?
I never know where Kurt Bowles gets his information. I call him Columbo.
One more question.
Yeah, Columbo. I think he put in an addendum out there. He combined 2 years. See, starting July 1, the July 1 is publicity. You can share publicity rights. So that publicity rights by the lawsuit was $20 million. So if you have $20 million, which you spend between football, all your sports. So it's, the lawsuit was 75% for football, 15 for men's basketball, 5 for women's basketball, and 5 for other sports. That's how it was disseminated. He just lumped one, I'm assuming, because I can't figure out where he got his arithmetic from. I'm assuming it was commingling 2 years in one article, and he did come back and reference that after the fact. But the headline was already out there. You picked it up. It was everywhere. I was like, okay, well, go ahead and run with that, muchacha. But no one called. I'm not too sure where Columbo picked that up.
Well, that was one more question. That was the frustrating thing about it, Chris, is that people see that one headline and they run with it, and all of a sudden Texas is the bad guy again. And ultimately, it's really not that big of a deal, but it's also inaccurate too. That's where it irks me a little bit. Is people keep making that claim, but it's not true at all.
No, and I think and Kurt referenced back to that. It was a 2-year situation, but it is what it is. And again, have you ever noticed when someone makes a mistake and a paper writes something, they always put it on the back page that was erroneous? Yeah. No one ever cared about that, right? So there's just some days it's not worth fighting the fight. You're just like, okay, it's out of the whatever it is. No one ever reads the addendum. No one read Kurt Bowles' addendum or his adjustment. But I remember reading the newspaper way back in the day. It'd be a headline, and then the back page was corrections of last week's headlines. But no one ever read that because the headlines, and now when the headline's out there, it's on social media, and it's
also the smallest print in the newspaper too is that retraction or the correction.
Without question. And that's why there's people calling it fake news. And the tough part today about media is, and I mean media with everybody, it's a life cycle of this.
Yeah.
Such a quick, and so it just doesn't, I don't pay too much attention to that. What I do pay attention to is just the ecosystem of Texas where I reside. If anyone like you would call me and ask me a question, I'd answer it, but I did not get called on that question. So
back to the whole you making yourself available for everybody bit. It's just like
call and ask.
I know.
My phone's here. You can email me and say, hey, here, this, you have my number. I'd be like, yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. But when he made the retraction, I was waiting to see if anyone picked it up. Donut.
Jeez. All right, last thing now, Chris. We still don't know exactly what the college football playoff is going to look like for next season. Ultimately, and maybe it's next year, or maybe it's a couple of years down the road, do you hope we see an adjustment to how the bracket is seeded and also the guaranteed teams getting in for the SEC, Big Ten, and Big 12 and ACC to lesser degrees?
Well, one, I think the playoffs this year were unbelievably successful.
Yeah.
Remember, everyone says you should have done this, this, and this. We used to have bowl games deciding the national champions by newspapers. At one time we had 3 or 4 national champions, right? It'd be the U.S. new champion, you had AP, you had all these champions. Then we finally went into the BCS era. We're now in the playoff era, and they set the parameters of what the playoff was going to look like 5 years ago. I was in the Big 12. The Pac-12 was a conference. So all these shifts. So by the time we got here, they were already laid out what the structure was going to look like for the 25 and 26 year, because the new contract was going to take place in the 26th year. So I can look and say we could maybe this past year, I understood it because we had agreed upon that 3 or 4 years ago. Here's where the seating in the bracket. I get the fact that the four seeds were where they were sat. This is what we agreed. That's what the CFP agreed on, and here's how the bracket was going to be. But who won was college football won. The fans won. It was awesome this past year. Having a home game at home against Clemson was great. As for the future, I'm not in those meetings. What I do like is the fact is we're trying to continue to improve our game. Our commissioners doing a yeoman's job of looking at the health of our game and what we can do. And I applaud where we're at today. I remember, I want to say Colorado and Georgia Tech shared a championship. Our chancellor is from Nebraska. He walks into our stadium and goes, "You didn't win a national championship in 1970. Nebraska did." I go, "No, we did. Here it is." So you had split championships. You had all these things. I want to say Michigan, when they won it, they shared a championship with someone in '97. I forget who it was. So now we're at a playoff game with a true champion. The CFP, someone in the bowl division, I think LSU won a national championship with Les Miles, had 3 losses. It was a computer ranking. Do you remember that?
Oh.
So there's always something.
Chris, you're missing the best example up in College Station, where they claim national championships out of the blue and also count spring games as victories in the season total.
Well, I've looked back at our records. We have we had a bunch of seasons that we were undefeated, but there was a national championship at that point in time was not anointed to Texas. So we have 4. I get that. Everyone has a way of counting what they are. You're not going to get me that BS right there.
Yes,
I'm not messing with you on that.
That is a professional right there. And look, I know the ultimate goal each year is the President's Cup, but I got to imagine that a nice second place, if you will, is clinching that SEC All Sports Trophy the first year we're in that conference. That had to have been an awesome feeling for you.
You know what? And I think that just speaks volumes of our coaches and our student athletes.
Yeah.
We're really proud of having a broad-based program. We want to be successful in every sport that we offer. We like to win. We feel like we can compete for championships in every sport. And I think the last 4 or 5 years, we won 15, 16 championships. We've just won one in men's swimming. We just started beach volleyball. This is our first year. We're in the NCAA championships. So I think that when we can say it and we can deliver on it, that's great. And I think for us to go to the SEC this year, we left the Big 12. We won 15 conference championship all-time record last year. And that was our gift to say, you know what, you were great. We thank you. We left with a 15 conference championships. Our first year in the Big 12, we won the football. Our last year, we won the football. That was going in the SEC this year. We set our sights on winning the Commissioner's Cup, and we're knee deep in the Directors Cup again for that trophy, and we're excited about that opportunity.
Well, he won't give himself credit for all the great successes. He'll point credit to coaches and student athletes and to everybody who works in that athletics department. But Chris Del Conte is a massive reason why University of Texas athletics is where it is right now. Chris, it is always a pleasure. Thank you so much for the time. I really enjoyed the hiring part of this conversation. I think you provided a lot of valuable insight to me and others, as well as this need to hold yourself accountable when you make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. It's just owning up to something, saying you're sorry, and then moving forward. Everybody is better off for it. Thank you as always for the time, man. You have a great summer.
Appreciate you. Welcome.